Rivera. I'm the host of Angel in the Afternoon. A very special edition today because I usually stream on Fridays, but today I couldn't do it because my guest is only available today and right now. So let's bring him on. His name is Willy Bragg. He's the host of the Willy Bragg Show and Willy and Bragg Nation, I believe his other show is. He'll explain that in a minute, I'm sure. So here he is. Oops, if I did
Hello.
that. Hey, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. It's actually Braggland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. Okay. That's
uh,
how new the show is.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, I thought it was Bragg Nation, but okay, Bragland.
yeah,
Okay, that's good.
yeah. But it's all good. But yeah, I'm doing good. I am. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and happy to interact with everybody on the chat line. If even though I don't know if I can see it on the chat line here yet or not, but that's fine. But so yeah, I'm good. I'm Willie Brown. I guess you want me to introduce myself or
Yeah, introduce yourself and talk about your shows if you want. Then we'll go from there.
okay. My name is Willie Bragg. I'm the host of the Willie Bragg Show. Also the co-host of Bragglands, co-hosting with Jimmy Sutherland. And I've been streaming since February 2020. And I do political commentary from a left wing socialist perspective. And that is basically how I kind of view the world. And, you know, um, economics, civil liberties, free speech, anti war, the whole nine yards. And I'm trying to do my part, my tiny part to make the world a better place.
I mean, yeah, that's all you can do as commentators, in this space. Just keep talking and keep putting our opinions out there, or else
Mhm.
then it's not. Even though we're small, we're pretty small commentators right now, but our voices, every voice is important, no matter who it is, because we can't just have corporate media dominance. Everybody needs to have a voice. Even if I disagree with you, you have every right to say whatever you want and however you want to do it. So yeah, so I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And I people have, I mean, we're all complex human beings, so we're all going to have a different perspective on things. And there's always that. So I try to, within reason, try to be tolerant of views that I may not agree with. Well, of course there
Yeah,
are
of course.
limitations, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to be tolerant because I've always been like tolerant of other people. In not always, but lately, I mean, it's like I've been pretty tolerant of other people's views because when I was a Democrat, I wasn't really that tolerant of other people's opinions. I was kind of like a shit lib, especially when I was in college.
Me too.
So yeah, so I got into the college thing, and oops, and then after college, actually during college, I was pretty shit libby. I remember just being a standard Democrat, and I was like, looking back at that time, I'm like, oh my god, I was so awful. I mean, I was such a lack of a better word, an asshole to people who disagree with me. And on Twitter, it was awful. I mean, I looked back at that and was like, what the hell was I thinking? I mean, I'm such an arrogant little prick, and I was like, I would hunch myself in the face. Like, what are you doing? Like, let people have their opinions. Even if you disagree with them, have a conversation. Don't. That's why I like having other guests that I don't necessarily agree with, but I like having the conversation. So I think even most shows or podcasts, whatever you want to call it, should have people that disagree with them because that way, they're able to flesh out their ideas, even if ultimately I still disagree with my guests afterwards. But at least we had the conversation, and I respect your opinion and all my guests' opinion, and that's all I can do. We agree to disagree, but doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Absolutely. Yeah, I too was very shit libby in my day. I mean, basically had the same politics that I have now, but I was more shit libby about it. If that makes any sense. Was a little more partisan and a little less tolerant. I was kind of an asshole when I was younger. Yeah, it all comes down to the immaturity of youth. No disrespect
Yeah.
toward your people saying this. I mean, we all
Hmm.
grow old, we older, and we evolve. And I don't think that what Winston Churchill says that somebody who's a socialist in their 20s, they're idealistic. I'm paraphrasing him, but
Hmm.
they or if they're wiser when they're older because they're conservative or something like that. It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
I am not concerned. I mean, I'm not bragging, but I mean, I'm actually a little further left than I was several years ago, even though I still have the basic same politics.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm more tolerant, weirdly enough.
well, yeah, I mean, we have to. I mean, I would the same. I had the same, very similar too. I was like, yeah, it's I'm always right. We are we. I literally, I like most Democrats do today. You think, well, I mean, we are more moral because we are, we are right. We want to help everybody. We want to use the power of government to help everybody instead of just helping the rich or the middle class or whatever. But the issue I see with that today is not everybody agrees with that sentiment, and that's fine. And at the time, I didn't really understand it, but not everybody agrees with that sentiment. I mean, I think it's still correct to this day, but I mean, ultimately, people don't agree, and that's fine. But at the time, I thought, oh, come on, you're wrong. You're wrong. You don't know how many times I got my account in Twitter jail arguing people and yelling at them and stuff. It's too much. It was like I
Yeah,
was way too much. I went way too far. Go ahead.
I'm currently a shadow ban on Facebook, and I do think that Twitter is a hellscape under Elon Musk, but it was a hellscape prior. Regarding Facebook, I never gotten much censorship out of them till recently. I was like, well, I think I might have said of some controversial things. I mean, you know, but my point, yeah, I mean, as a Democrat, I mean, I was very partisan. I was an asshole to a lot of people. Of course, I became independent, but I was like a part-time Democrat, part-time independent. And I almost went back into the Democratic Party full time because of Bernie. And
Yeah.
so he almost sheep herded me back. But now I realize where electorally where I need to be, and that is fucking independent for for now on. There's no way in hell that I would lift a finger to help the two-party system, because to vote for a Democrat or a Republican is to perpetuate the what is wrong with this country.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot wrong with this country, and neither of the main parties are going to do anything to help with the problems. So, yeah, I don't understand people who are Democrats these days. It's like, if you call yourself a leftist or progressive or whatever, why are you a Democrat? I don't know. I mean, it's like you are setting yourself up to fail just automatically, and it's just not going to work. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, just be, you got to work outside the system. That's the only way you'll ever be able to do anything.
It's the other conservative. It's the other conservative party. The Republican Party are, yeah, the Republican Party. I still say the Republican Party's worse. However,
Hmm.
because they're flirting with fascism. I mean, they really are. I don't mean every person who's Republican's fascist. I do think that the institutionally, with people, with Trump being sort of a cartoonish version of it, and Ron DeSantis being, I don't want to say intellectual, but a little more cerebral version of what Trump is trying to do.
Hmm.
um yeah, I just cannot, I just cannot, I would never vote for Republican. But the Democrats, they're basically, it's the party of Ronald Reagan behind the rainbow flag. I mean, that's basically
Good
what
way to
it
put it.
was. And I'm cool with LBGTQ saying this. I'm just saying it's just a big old virtue signal, Reaganomics and virtue signal.
It's a good way of putting
I
it.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So far we have Uncle Warren in the chat and Bad Cookies. How are you? How are you guys tonight? But yeah, did you hear about the Democrats? Canceling their primary in Florida and just anointing Joe Biden. I assume
I
you.
sure did.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, the Democratic Party, the alleged Democracy Party. Oh yeah, let's just cancel our primary and just renominate the president. No one will notice, right?
The third time that they did the rigging. I
Hmm.
mean, they did it to Bernie twice,
Hey Heidi.
and hi Heidi, bad cookies, and you said Warren's on the here too,
Yeah, he
or
was. I mean, he put a little comment
uh,
here. I'm not sure if he's here right this
oh, okay,
second, but yeah, he did put.
okay, okay. But yeah, Democrats did it twice to Bernie, and now that they did it to RFK, whatever we may think of RFK, they did it to Marianne Williamson, whatever we may think of Marianne Williamson. Their state's still been done wrong, you know.
Marianne Williamson, and now Cenk Uger's running again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later, but and some other Democrats, some centrists. I'll forget his name right now, but
Dean
yeah,
Phillips.
him. He's running too. Oh, we'll just get into it in a minute, but TYT is running their own debate tomorrow
I heard
with
about
I
that.
just saw it on Twitter. It's like Cenk Uger and Marianne Williamson, Dean Phillips' character, are going to debate each other.
Yeah,
um,
I'm mixed on TYT doing that. On one hand, I understand TYT doing that. Even though I'm critical of them, and I was like, well, there is no primary. Somebody has to do this. On the other hand, it's a waste of time.
yeah, I just wanted to got things to do here tonight. I have a family funeral 10 in the morning. Great show so far. If I miss any, that definitely watch later. Sorry for your loss, Heidi. I hope it goes well, and I
Same here.
hope yeah. Sorry, I mean that sucks. Jank has zero chance. Bad Cookie says, of course, he's not even a U.S. citizen. He's a natural born. He's a naturalized citizen. He's not a natural born citizen. It's a difference. So you can't run anyways. Um, but I don't know what he's doing running for president, but yeah, I guess he's a grandstander, loves his attention. So yeah, of course I'm going to run, even though I have no chance of winning. And even if he was a natural born citizen, he can't win anyways. So yeah, but anyways, let's get into my. I know. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the Democrats canceling their primary in Florida. Cenk is definitely hilarious. He's a buffoon. I mean, every time on the rare occasion I check out a TYT video, he's either melting down or saying something stupid, which makes me laugh. But yeah, I mean, because our favorite YouTuber, aka Kyle Kalinske, decided to cover the Florida thing, and he had his little meltdown. So I figure that me and you could watch this video and stop and give our opinion, stuff like that. So I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun for us.
Yeah.
The video is called "Biden Goes Full Authoritarian." I don't watch Kyle much anymore. I used to do responses all the time in streams. I don't do it anymore because he's just so boring. But I saw this video and it's like I have to show Willie because I think he'll find it funny too.
Okay, I saw it earlier today, but I'm willing to watch it again.
Okay, you saw this one. Okay,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
we can watch it again.
okay. We'll watch it.
So the other day we discussed a big bombshell story that came out in Politico. And what happened is Florida Democrats, the Florida Democratic Party, decided unilaterally, we're not going to have a primary election. We're not going to have one. We disagree with having a primary election, so we're going to nip it in the bud. Biden's the guy. Now, this is rank authoritarianism. Seems like it either is illegal or should be illegal, but this is what they did. So, by the way, the mechanics of it, the specifics of it are just as disturbing because they had a date that was set. Like, this is the last day you can register to be on the ballot. And Dean Phillips, the centrist Democrat who's challenging Biden, went to them just before the last day, and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't get on this ballot." And he's like, "What? Why?" And he said, "Oh, the window to register already passed." So a month before their own stated deadline, that's when they decided, "Oh, that's it. No primary election. This thing is shut down."
Yeah, of course they did, because they they don't want the president to be challenged. So it's like, what did you think they would actually hold a real primary? They already decided Biden's a nominee. Unless Biden croaks or something happens where he can't run anymore, that's the only way he isn't going to be a nominee. He's the nominee, Kyle. Like it or not, buddy, he's the nominee.
Yeah, Kyle is in a situation, and this is my issue with Kyle. The politics, the ideology of Kyle is fine. My problem with Kyle Kalinske is his loyalty to the Democratic Party and his he secretly likes Joe Biden. I don't mean he likes Joe Biden ideologically. I think he likes Joe Biden the person. I think he just finds Joe Biden likable because he says these really weird comments on the show and everything, and and it's just been hard to listen to him. I mean, I'll listen to him a couple of times a week as opposed to listening to him every single day like I used to. But
Oh, he's awful to listen to.
he's just gotten significantly worse over the years. Oh, I mean, just I think that when TYT basically canned him is when he I saw him going downhill right there. That's
Talking about that, I'm glad you brought that up. Cenk Uygur just fired him like a bad habit as soon as he agreed with Jimmy Dore. He like that whole Aaron Mate Jimmy Dore TYT thing. Cenk just fired him like that. Like he was done with him as soon as he dared disagree with him a little bit. Then over the years, especially recently, especially since he married Crystal Ball and stuff. Recently, he started sucking up to Cenk Uygur again, and he sucked up and he sucked up and he kissed his ass to the point where now Cenk Uygur is going on Crystal Call and friends, and they all made up and they're all best friends again. Yay! Oh, we all hate Jimmy Dore, right? Okay, great. We're all friends now, right? Like, come on. I mean, that's what I mean. I'm not sure if his wife pressured him into kissing Cenk's ass. Maybe she did, but I'm speculating there. But yeah, I mean that's my 2 cents on why he all of a sudden started sucking up to Cenk Uygur, especially after he fired and humiliated him.
he whined. That was got on my nerves about him after that whole debacle during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle was okay. Jimmy Dore was 100% correct. TYT was 100% wrong. And actually, kind of feel sorry for Kyle because he got kind of shit on by everybody. But at the same time, he chose a side and he decided he's going to remain more loyal to the TYT side. And I sort of, as much as I hate Vosh, but I agree with Vosh what he said about Kyle Kalinske during his better period. He was sort of the middle path between the TYT, David Packman, Sam Cedar left, and the Jimmy Dore gray zone left. He was sort of like that middle path, but he's not so much in that middle path anymore.
No, he's just a full Democrat. Bad Cookie says, let me see what he says here. If I can. Oh. Kyle got shit on because his bitch ass tried to ride the fence until he picked a side and it was the wrong side. Yeah, I mean, Kyle picked the Jimmy Dore side initially.
He did.
But the issue kind of got his friendship with Jimmy kind of blew up with the whole Crystal Cow and Friends appearance, or the appearance that didn't happen, if you remember.
Yeah, they ghosted him, Jimmy.
Yeah, they ghosted him. Both Crystal and Kyle ghosted him on his appearance. He was supposed to go on at some time. I don't remember what time it was, and Crystal and Kyle just straight up ghosted him. And they sent him like a press release around 12 and like hours after he was supposed to go on and say, well, sorry, you and Cenk are having issues right now, and we won't have you on because we want that to blow over. And I'm like, yeah, and why didn't you tell him? I mean, just tell him look beforehand. And what's worse is, if I remember correctly, they had on Cenk's nephew to replace Jimmy. So like a double fuck you, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Like it's a double fuck you. Oh yeah, we're gonna have on Cenk's nephew, and then we're gonna make fun of the whole situation, which Jimmy took their takes and took very seriously at the time. So yeah, I mean that ruined his friendship with Jimmy, Kyle's friendship, and I'm sure he hates him to this day. I probably hate him too if I were Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, and just think it. All this shit started when Shank and Anna had a meltdown over Aaron Matei, who was absolutely correct about Syria. I don't
Yeah,
understand why that's even controversial, but I mean, he was correct about Syria, about the chemical gas attacks and everything, that Syria was not responsible for this and everything. I mean, and they had a meltdown. And I think I remember both Max Blumenthal and Aaron Matei at one time might have been on TYT a time or two in the past. I'm trying to remember. I think I've seen them TYT about a decade ago. But
yeah. I know Aaron Mate appeared once on TYT. That was years ago, and I think he said to Jimmy, he was on Jimmy's show. He said, "Well, I wanted to give Cenk a chance and I wanted to educate him because he's not that smart on foreign policy, which he isn't. He never was. He's like more of a domestic guy."
and even on domestic policies, he's not that progressive. I mean, I mean, he was, and while they're sitting there calling Jimmy Dore right winger, Jimmy Dore is far to the left of TYT. I mean, in some ways, he's to my left, but I do watch Jimmy Dore and I appreciate his perspective. But the thing about Jimmy Dore is he did convince Shank, who was pro death penalty, that the death penalty was wrong, and
Yeah,
more power to Jimmy for doing that. And it's a couple of areas where Shank was on the fence or took a right leaning position that Jimmy argued with him on the air from the left and convinced Shank Uger to take a more progressive position or left wing position. So it's nonsense when they say that Jimmy Dore is some right wing grifter. He's not.
no, he's not. So let's watch a little bit more of this, and we'll continue.
Now, why do you think they did that? Do you think they did that free of their own volition? No. The way this works is the Biden campaign or the Biden White House made a call, or top level DNC officials made a call at the behest of the Biden White House. And they said, shut this whole thing down. Again, look, don't take my word for it. We covered the Politico article the other day.
The
Go read the
conspiracy.
Politico article, and you'll see how absurd it is. Dean Phillips, one of the things he said was like, this is like some shit that like Iran would do. Like, here are your pre-chosen candidates, and you could pick among these candidates that we pre-selected for you. And when Florida Democrats heard that, they played the victim. They were shocked and chagrined, like, how dare you compare us to Iran? They're rank authoritarians. Oh, really? Well, what did you just do here? There's no other way to describe it. It is authoritarian. So look, we discussed that the other day. And since then, this has come out. So Ryan Grimm says the following. Here's the moment where Florida Democratic Party nominated Biden. I'm told by a party member that it was not explained to people that by nominating him, that would also keep other candidates off the ballot. Even enthusiastic supporters of Biden would not have purposefully canceled the primary. So
I'm
the
not
tweet,
buying that.
Florida Democrats from October 29th. We just officially put President Joe Biden on the ballot in Florida 4 more years. So let me play that video for you.
There,
What?
all right, multiple things. One, I don't buy Ryan Grimm's story about how we did some of the people in the party didn't know that can't vote meant canceling the primary. That's not true. I'm sure they did know. They didn't give a shit. Look how excited they are. Two, Kyle come up with a little conspiracy theory there. It's like, oh well, obviously the White House must have called, right? I mean, there's no way the Florida Democrats did this on their own. Come on, it must have been the White House. I mean, so no evidence for that either. And these Democrats here are like they're clapping like they're a bunch of seals, like 4 more years, 4 more years, like they're seals. But yeah, I don't know what you think.
4 more years of what? I mean, it's just he said no fundamental changes was going to take place. Joe Biden,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing he kept his promise on. There were no fundamental changes. It's it was the same, just the same crap, and different day. In fact, on foreign policy, he actually objectively is a little worse than Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump accidentally, I don't mean that Donald Trump was a pacifist or a peacenik, but I think that the United States bullied slightly less under Trump for this reason. It was all chaos. The shit libs were after Trump. The never Trumpers were after Trump. Trump was fighting the never Trumpers and the shit libs, and it was
Hmm.
just a lot of dysfunctionality in government, and I think that that in itself accidentally made the United States slightly less aggressive. What do you think of that theory?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's Trump accidentally ended up being like the peace guy. I mean, he didn't start a new war. He continued all the wars, but he didn't start a new one. That right there makes him the most peacetime president in modern history. And the other thing yeah, I mean, that's why I've had people argue to me that Trump is like overall the peace guy. And I'm like, yeah, he didn't start a new war, but doesn't mean he continued all the wars. I do remember reading that he tried to withdraw from Syria, but the guy he put in charge in the military never did it. And he never followed up on it either. So his withdrawal never happened, even though he did order to withdraw from Syria.
Yeah, he. And I think I'll give him credit. He tried to pull out of Afghanistan earlier, too. But here's the thing. I mean, he did some horrible things while he was president too. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
murder of Qasem Soleimani of Iran over there with the
Hmm.
drone strike in Baghdad. Oh, and people need to remember that under the Trump administration, Julian Assange was arrested and he
Hmm.
did not pardon him, even though I think that there was I think he almost pardoned him for what I
Yeah.
understand. But
What happened was they offered him a deal. They didn't really pardon him. It was if he gave up his source on his story, they would pardon him or something or release him. So basically, they're trying to blackmail him. Oh, give us your source and we'll release you. Then, we'll release you as soon as we get your source on that story, which of course Julian Assange didn't give up his source. So he's been in prison ever since. He'll continue to be in prison, most likely. And then unfortunately, it seems like the United States is this close to extraditing him to try him in a ridiculous show trial because we all know they're going to find him guilty. He's
I,
not going to get a fair trial here in the U.S.
I could be wrong, but I don't actually think he's going to be extradited in the United States, and I think that the reason why I don't think so because it would bring a lot of negative press to the United States that they don't want, and even though we know what the outcome would be, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people around the world protesting and
Hmm.
all that on his behalf. And I think the United States knows, United States is sort of like a Hollywood entertainer. They're image conscious. The United States is image conscious, and they don't
They
want
are,
to, yeah. So
but here's I think they will do everything they can to extradite him because they want to make an example out of him. Like they don't want any other reporter, breaking stories about the US's crimes. So they in their minds they need to make an example of him and try him, he's guilty, put him in jail for 30 years and then that's it. I mean, that's what they want. But at the same time, I could see your point saying that they don't want all the bad press they're going to get. They're already getting it. And on top of
mhm.
that, finally, I was reading that the Australian government is kind of pressuring the US into releasing Assange, or at the very least, once he's convicted, to let him serve his time in Australia. So the Australian government is trying to do something for their citizen, but we'll see what happens there. But I think the U.S. will still try to extradite him, even though it will be horrible press for them. And Washington, I'm not sure they're going to try him in Washington or in New York, but either way, there's going to be a lot of people on the streets in Washington or in New York. I already know. I know Misty. From my INN from INN. She's gonna be all over that, and she'll be in Washington or New York if they extradite him, and along with millions of other people. It's not just her, but yeah, I mean, it's there's going to be a bunch of people out there, and it's not going to look good for the administration, either with Trump or Biden, whoever actually gets him extradited over here. I'm rambling, but go ahead. And what do you
No,
think?
well, yeah. I met Misty at the Hands Off Massage rally.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, back in
the one in
actually,
Washington.
yeah, the one in Washington,
Uh-huh.
slightly over a year ago, and it
Uh-huh.
was actually the first protest I went to in years. And I
Okay.
was, yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, I'm home. I came home. So,
I,
but
I wanted I wanted to go to that protest, but I couldn't. I was sick, and it was like, oh, terrible luck. But yeah, I probably would have met you there if I was able to not be sick and able to make it. But yeah, I'm glad you're able to go. It was a good protest,
yeah,
and and I don't know how much. I mean, it's great. I mean, the more protests to get Assange out, the better. And we'll see what happens with him. I still think they're going to try to deport him, but we'll see what happens. Maybe you're right, and they'll. I don't know. Even if they don't deport him, what are they going to do with him? They can't leave him in prison without a conviction forever in the UK.
they want him to
So
die. That's what, in my opinion, I think they want him to lose his will to live. That's what I think they're trying to do.
it's been 10 years. So yeah, I mean, he had a stroke recently. Last time we saw him, he wasn't in good shape.
Didn't he
So
have COVID too?
I think maybe. I mean, I know he's been sick a lot lately, and he's not in good shape. That's why his wife, Stella, is desperately trying to get him out and create enough political pressure to get him released because he's not the same guy that he was before this happened 10 years ago. He's like a shell of his former self. I mean, he's just a shell. You know, it's Julian Assange, yes, but it's a shell. Even if he's released, he's not going to go back running WikiLeaks. That's not going to happen. He's like a shell of his former self, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the same Julian Assange, even under the best of circumstances of his
No.
being released. I think
And
yeah,
And maybe, as you said, they're just hoping that he dies in Belmarsh. It's like one of the worst prisons in the UK, so they're just hoping he dies. And let's see, Bad Cookie said something here. Even if released, nothing the US ever does ever make up for the torture and the missed time he's had. No, absolutely not. Then, oops, hold on. Why is this here? All right, let's just do that. All right. And then he also says, let me think I'm having a malfunction here. Hold on. Here we go. If Assange ever steps foot in the U.S., they will Epstein him. I wouldn't be surprised, if he ended up dead, and if he ever brings it here. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I see. I think they want to do a show trial and convict him, but at the same time, that would be too hard. So Epsteining him might be the best option for the U.S. to say, "Oh yeah, we tried to put him on trial, but unfortunately, he committed suicide." Isn't that convenient, huh?
yeah. There will, yeah, something will happen. That's why I just don't think that there will actually be a trial. And in my opinion, but if there is, I hope everybody makes a lot of noise around the world over what the evil the United States
Yeah.
is doing to this man.
Yeah, I mean, he lost 10 years and he has two children who are now basically, I mean, they're older, 10 years older, and they haven't seen their father in years. And it's just a tragedy. He lost 10 years with his family. And ultimately, it's not, I mean, the United States should be shamed for eternity for that. But I'm sure most of the countries in this world are scared to death of America. So chances are we'd still be viewed as the world's police, the leader of the free world, all that stuff. So the U.S. won't suffer any consequences for this. So it's unfortunate, but that's what I think going to end up happening. Assange is going to end up either dead or in prison, and the U.S. will pound his chest talking about how they care about democracy and Trump is anti-democracy and he's going to be authoritarian and all this other stuff. So yeah, they're just hypocrisy all the way. No bounds. They don't care. It's like, oh yeah, we love journalists, but at the same time, we're gonna put them in prison under the Espionage Act if they dare, report our crimes.
Yeah, well, as far as the being authoritarian, do I think that Trump is authoritarian? Incompetently so, but yes, he has an authoritarian streak. But you know what? Joe Biden's administration's been authoritarian too in many
Hmm.
respects.
Yeah,
Just yeah.
And that's a competent authoritarian. Like they mean to be like that. It isn't like Trump where he just accidentally, oh yeah, let's cancel the Constitution. Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring back my Muslim ban, but even worse this time. Or I'm going to do all these horrible things as president. And to me, that's all just rhetoric. I don't think Trump's gonna do any of that. He's far too lazy and far too incompetent to do any
He's
of that.
he's goofy, he's lazy, he's incompetent, and he ain't that bright. I mean, and people can't get enough of him. I mean, it's just the damnedest thing.
Well, I mean, he isn't a establishment standard politician. He'll tell you exactly what is on his mind, whether you like it or not. He's going to tell you, and then he's going to upset people, or he's going to have some Americans say, "Hell yeah, keep it going, give us more. Fuck the establishment, we hate them just as much as you do." Yeah, you want to be more authoritarian and get rid of the administrative state or the deep state, whatever you want to call it. Then yes, we're in favor of that. Keep going. Get rid of them. Put the put the entire executive branch under your control.
Yeah, he's just so damn cartoonish, and people also need to remember that who convinced him to run for president? It was
Bill
the
Clinton.
Clintons,
Yeah.
Bill and Hillary Clinton.
They're all
Yeah,
friends.
they were, and I could see Bill Clinton playing golf with Donald Trump, having a conversation. I'm not saying you need to run for president in the
Yeah.
GOP primary, but if you were to do that, you will help my wife Hillary win, and we can make life really good for you if that were to happen. Just kind of speculating, brainstorming
Mhm.
right now. I
Because
can
he
see
knows
Bill
Trump.
Clinton doing that.
Because
Yeah.
he knows Trump. He's like, oh yeah, if I suggest it, he'll definitely run. It'll be like an ego thing. It's like, oh yeah, go. You can win. You can win the primary. He wasn't supposed to win. He was supposed to be like the Pied Piper, and Hillary's supposed to. It's an easy path to victory for Hillary. Unfortunately, she didn't realize how much she was hated to the point where, yeah, let's take the chance on this game show host, to
Hmm.
win to run the country. Oops.
Well, I personally think my conspiracy theory was he goes into the primaries, obviously would not get the nomination, but we would be a disruptive force in the primaries, could split the Republican Party in two, maybe, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make the Republican Party irrelevant. As much as I hate Bill and Hillary Clinton, if that would have been the outcome, I would be like, a fractured Republican Party permanently. you know, you think about the Republican Party, a lot of the policies are Southern. I mean,
Hmm.
so that Southern political influence could erode away, which would make the country a better place. But no, that didn't happen.
No. and and yeah, if Trump would have lost the primary, he would have said it was rigged, and then he would have gone third party or independent and taken half the party with him, which is probably the plan that the Clintons had the whole time. Is, oh yeah, he's gonna take half the party with him, and it'll be an easy victory for my wife, and we all go back to the White House, and Trump will continue to do The Apprentice. In fact, I remember reading that Trump was in negotiations with NBC to bring back The Apprentice right before he won the election by accident. I think Trump thought he was going to lose. That's why he already negotiating with NBC to go back to The Apprentice. And then he
Mhm.
won. It's like, oh, I won. Of course I won. I'm the president. Yeah, I always win. So it was an accident. He wasn't really supposed to win, but he won.
Yeah, I remember it was a kind of a depressing time because not necessarily because he won, that the fact that they made a victim out of Hillary Clinton. You
Hmm.
know, and also for the next 4 or 5 months, I was blamed for Trump winning because I voted third party for president.
Yeah, so did I. I was
Yeah,
blamed too. Excuse me, we all were blamed for it.
and the Bernie Bros, never forget that.
Oh God, I mean that was a Hillary Clinton invented nonsensical thing that her campaign came up with. I'm sure it was focus grouped and studied. It's like, what's the most horrible thing we can call Bernie Sanders supporters? Racist? No, that's too strong. Sexist? They did call her sexist, to be fair, but no, that's too strong. Oh, Bernie Bros. Like, oh yeah, that works. I mean, the focus groups, I'm sure, love that. Like, oh yeah, they're Bernie Bros. Fuck them. And okay, great, we used the Bernie Bros thing, and then it worked. I mean, Bernie ultimately failed to win the nomination. He did get 46% of the vote, but after he endorsed Hillary, I was like, yeah, he's just a standard Democrat, and I can't. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I remember when he was intensely more radical than he was even in 2016. In the 1990s, he was
Oh yeah, yeah,
very radical. I mean, I was
yeah. I
following
mean,
him in the 1990s. He was the reason I became a socialist.
hmm I just wanted let's see. Hey, Screw Google is here with us. Hello.
Hi,
Thank you
Stu.
for joining us. He also says this about Assange. Trump said he loved WikiLeaks slash Assange in 2016, 2017. Then Assange locked up by his goons. Press asked him about it. He says Wiki who? Assange who? Never heard of them, him. So yeah, I mean, Trump is he's just a hypocrite. He's just I mean, he whatever he said, whatever he needs to say to get an applause, he'll do that. He's like your standard demagogue. It's like, oh, and this will bring you applause. Okay, you will applause me. Okay, I'll say whatever you want. Please, just applause me. Like he loves the attention. He loves the applause lines. He's not someone that should be. You shouldn't take his word on for anything. I mean, he'll say what he'll talk out of both sides of his mouth. He has same positions twice, two different positions, 1 minute to another. I mean, he just wants to be applauded and to be loved and to be kissed up to and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's no one should take his rhetoric seriously, whether the authoritarian rhetoric or the progressive one. No one should don't listen to him. Just ignore him and hope he goes away, but he won't. He'll probably win again.
I think he's probably going to win, but yeah, Kit Cabello from Heartlands Media basically predicted in the past that Trump, if it's just another Republican that's in the White House in 2025, and that could very well be, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. And let's say DeSantis becomes president, although I'm starting to have my doubts that he has a chance. I'm more worried about Nikki Haley. But the thing about it is, if there is a Republican in the White House and that Republican is further right, and I speculate they will be further right than Trump, they're going to rehabilitate Trump the way they have rehabilitated
Yeah,
George W. Bush and every Republican president has been rehabilitated by the Democrats.
yeah, they did it. Every single one of them, they did it. From Reagan to George Bush Senior to George W. to and yeah, I mean Trump is the most recent Republican president, and they're not going to rehabilitate him anytime soon. But yeah, I mean the Democrats definitely did it. I think Nancy Pelosi said we need a strong Republican Party, so that's why they
We already got one. It's called the Democrats.
Yeah, but Nancy Pelosi said we need a strong Republican Party because that way they will oppose the Democrats and especially like the progressive Democrats like the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders. So they need a party to oppose them in order to say, oh, what we tried, but it's the Republicans' fault. They need that foil, like in order to go to their voters, say, oh, we tried to do it, but we couldn't because of these Republicans. It's their fault. Don't get mad at us, even though we failed for decades, but get mad at the Republicans.
I'm going to go out on a limb saying this. If there is a Republican president, let's say a DeSantis or Nikki Haley or some moron like that in the White House,
Mm-hmm.
Trump will be so butthurt over this that I think it's not beyond the realm of possibility that he'll be like, well, fuck this right wing base. I'm going to go and sound like a shit lib again and suck up to the liberals, and they're going to be like, oh, he's evolved and changed and everything. And instead of Michelle Obama hugging George W. Bush, it'll be AOC or Ilhan Omar hugging Donald Trump.
That's a realistic possibility because whoever is the Republican president will be the incarnation of evil to Democrats. And especially if Trump starts sounding like a Democrat again, like he did in the 90s, they'll definitely re-embrace him again, no problem, because he's still a celebrity ultimately, a celebrity who's a Democrat. So Yeah, let's watch a little bit more of this because we definitely, we started talking and getting off track. But
So again, Ryan Grimm is reporting that he's talked to some of these people and they say, "Oh, we had no idea that we were excluding the other candidates from that. We wouldn't have done it if that was the case. We didn't know that."
True. That's not true.
Now,
I don't buy that.
Are there some people in the room who knew? I'm sure some people knew, right? I'm sure the leadership knew. I'm sure they got the phone call from either the White House or top officials at the DNC saying, "Hey, we want you to move forward with this." But guess what? They're not getting away with it. In fact, Cenk Uygur,
yes, they are. They're getting away with it.
Marianne Williamson, and potentially even Dean Phillips are all going to get together here and file lawsuits if they have to. And
what's their legal rationale? The Democratic Party is a corporation. They're legally registered as a corporation, so they can do whatever they want. If they want to have primaries, great. If they don't want to have primaries, they don't have to. They can pick their nominee in a backfilled room full of cigar smoke and stuff. It's like, okay, it's going to be our nominee. Biden? Oh, no, Gavin Newsom? Doesn't matter. They don't need the party members to actually vote. They're a corporation. So what's their legal rationale for a lawsuit? I don't know. But I'm sure that Cenk Uygur will make something up in a lawsuit because he's a lawyer at one point and he'll make ridiculous legal arguments and they'll lose and everybody will move on with their lives.
By the way, I say if they have to, because they're thinking maybe with enough pressure, the Florida Democratic Party will say, okay, you're right, this was the wrong move, we'll let you on the ballot.
No, they won't.
But they might not do that. And
They
in
won't.
the case they don't do that, they absolutely should sue. So Marianne and Cenk held a press
What's
conference.
your legal rationale for a lawsuit? The Democrats are a corporation. We tried this back when the lawyers sued. Remember those lawyers who sued for Bernie Sanders supporters, try to get our money back from the Democratic Party?
I don't remember that, but I would love to get my money back from Bernie Sanders at this point.
They sued the DNC for because they defrauded Bernie Sanders supporters because the primary was rigged, and then later they did admit it. The party was like, "Oh yeah, we rigged the primary, but we're allowed to do it because we're a private entity. We do whatever we want," which is literally what the DNC lawyers argued, and ultimately the judge ruled in their favor. So yeah, so a judge basically said, yes, the DNC do whatever they want with their primaries. Same thing with the RNC. So yeah, so there is no democracy. And it's no primary. If they allow primary, okay, fine. They don't. It's like, no, we're not going to do primary. We'll just renominate our sitting president. It's like, okay, not much they can do about it. No lawsuit's going to change that. The Democrats or progressives already tried that, and it failed miserably. So it'll continue. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying the Democrats have been very busy, not only tampering with the party's primaries in 2016, 2020, and 2024, but they also basically knocked the Cornel West presidential campaign out of commission by, in my opinion, by sending Peter Dow in there. He already done the damage with Marianne Williamson, and he went in there. In my view, once always a Clinton night is always a Clinton night. I don't trust the man and what he did. I'm pissed off with what he did. So I mean, because Cornel West could have ran an aggressive campaign running as a Green candidate this year, and and he decided to run as an independent. So I don't even know if I'm going to get a chance to vote for Cornel West in North Carolina at this point.
I don't think so at this point. I mean, he went from being the People's Party to Green to Independent, and he's just killed his own campaign because I don't see how he gets on the ballot in most of these states. Because an independent candidate, it's a lot more difficult to get on the ballot than even a third party. It's easier if you're a third party. Like I think the Green Party is on the ballot in like 16 states, but they usually end up getting on 40 something states or nearly 50. So that's how it works every primary season with the Greens. And who stayed as a Green, maybe he would have been on the ballot in more states and got more votes. But now it's independent. Unless you're RFK Jr. have all this money, you're not going to get on the ballot in many states. So he screwed his own campaign. His campaign's dead.
It didn't have to be that way. So I'm actually at a situation where I don't know who I'm going to vote for next year. It's not going to be the Democrats or the Republicans.
Oh no.
But I'm going to vote third party as usual.
Yeah.
But will it be for Cornel West? Would it be for Jill Stein? Would it be for Claudia Dela Cruz? would it be for William Stodden? I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see who's in the ballot November 6th of next year. I might not even vote at all. We'll see. But if I do, it'll
Same.
definitely be third party. If I don't show up to the ballot, because I'm so like unimpressed with a lot of these candidates. Even the third party people like Cornell West is like, ugh. Jill Stein, I voted for her twice in 16 and 20. And before that, and the other candidates are like, no, just it's like, yeah, I'll probably maybe vote for the socialists, but at the same time, I'm like, do I really want to get out of bed just to do that? I don't know. We'll see what happens next year, but I'm speculating. We're like a year away from that, but go
I will
ahead.
say this: it might be my last election that I vote in 2024. I mean, just at this point, it's kind of like they really have it so like, why bother? They're going to fight you every step of the way.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, I probably won't. I probably won't vote again, and like, I'll just cover it on this show and give my opinion on stuff. But am I going to participate in political process anymore? I don't know. I mean, if I do, it has to be a candidate which blows me away, and none of them done it in this election cycle, and I don't know if that will happen again.
Yeah, I'm just beside myself with yeah, like you said, and I will even be fair if the Democrats are doing something positive, I'll report them positively if they really are doing something positive. Same with the Republicans. I'm not a partisan hack, but at the same time, I expect next to nothing from either one of them.
No, I'm not a hack either, but at the same time, I'm like, really? I mean, it's like I'm done with the Democrats. So let's see what Jank and Marianne Williamson say here.
This conference the other day talking about this. Let's see what they had to say.
I think that the Florida statute itself is unconstitutional, giving that kind of power to the party. The party itself is a political committee. It's not a government agency, but it's playing a quasi-governmental function here.
No,
and
it
it has
isn't.
no right
It's a private organization, do whatever it's want. It's not a government entity.
to block democracy this way. It has a responsibility to the public
The
good.
U.S. isn't a democracy.
And we all know that we're living at a time when our democracy itself is in crisis. We all know that the threats to democracy of them that are represented by people such as Donald Trump. But the irony here, of course, is that the Democratic Party claims to be trying to protect democracy, but their way of doing it is to suppress democracy. It's wrong, and it's also undercutting of the most basic rights. If we cannot assume that the people of the United States have fair and equal access to knowing even who their candidates are, then we don't have fair and equal access to the vote. And this is why this is a transgression of the 14th Amendment. And this is what we will be claiming in court if we have to. Both Dean, all of us, Dean and Cenk and myself, are going to take all legal action that we can and that we feel is necessary. We're going to communicate to the public, and we appreciate, I know all three of us appreciate that you are here. You can't let these so-called little transgressions pass. We have to hold a line right here. This is not just about the fact that it's 200 and some odd delegates. It's not just the fact that it's drama going on within the Democratic Party. This is the chipping away of our democracy. And as Cenk pointed out, what an irony that the party called the Democratic Party, the party that claims to be the champion of democracy, has basically decided that Joe Biden will be the candidate. Now, this is authoritarianism, just as Cenk said. When I was a child, we were told that in the Soviet Union, people could vote, but they were told who their options were. And that's exactly what's happening here. And you have over 70% of Democratic voters who have made it clear time and time again that they want to hear other options. In this case, other options exist. And at this point, the Democratic Party, the state of Florida itself, have no right to manipulate the circumstances so in such a way that people are denied access to who their candidates are, and to hear from us and to know that we're about. Unfortunately, this is part of a larger concerted effort that the Democratic Party has been taking. This has to do with media suppression. It has to do with invisibilization, erasure.
I lost track like halfway what she's saying. I'm sick of her. But yeah, I mean, her legal arguments, it's exactly the same as Jenks. I mean, it's like she basically says, oh, well, it's a violation of the 14th Amendment because they don't have primaries, even though they're a private corporation, do whatever the hell they want. But yeah, I mean, this is Jank's argument that he's being discriminated against because he's a naturalized citizen, not a natural born citizen. So he should be able to run because naturalized citizens should be able to run if the Constitution says they can't. Oh, I'm being discriminated against. for being a naturalized citizen. It's just ridiculous. It's an absurd legal theory which will never get off the ground. He'll be laughed out of court.
Yeah, yeah, agreed, and all of that. Yeah, I don't know what world Shank is living at. Thinking that he can, do this. I mean, he has a chance. You know, I just don't understand it. And Marianne Williamson, she's good for a laugh, but I mean, because she's so weird. I mean,
She's regurgitating Jenks' legal theory, which makes no sense
yeah.
because the Constitution is clear who can run for president. You have to be 35 years old. You have to be a natural born citizen, and you have to live in the U.S. the last 15 years before the election. That's clear. It's crystal clear who can run and who can't run. And this is not even an amendment. It's the original Constitution that was written. It's clear. There's no case here. Jenk has no case. Then he has a part of his argument also is the 14th Amendment amended that part of the Constitution, which it didn't because it's clear. In order to amend the Constitution, you have to say, oh yeah, this part that you have to be a natural born citizen to run. Oh, that's not required anymore. Any citizen can run. You have to have a separate amendment for that. You can't just say, well, the 14th Amendment amended that part of the Constitution, even though that was never the intention. That's that no judge, no federal judge ever go for that argument. And especially the Supreme Court. I mean, they're like, yeah, fuck off. We're not even going to take this case. So yeah, it's just a waste of time. He's wasting everybody's time and money. Whoever donates to his campaign is a mark and an idiot. And you're not going to get your money back. Jenks can do whatever he wants with that money.
Yeah. I'm not donating to Shank. I was even going to just delay. This is why I didn't give any money to Cornel West yet. I would have under normal circumstances, but when I saw the him being played by Peter Dow, I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just hold on to my hard-earned cash and wait and see what happens. If he's running an aggressive campaign, Cornel West will get my money. If it's a vanity tour, a vanity campaign, forget it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Bad Cookie said, I just donated to Jenk, LOL. He's, hilarious.
I donated. The last candidate I donated to was Bernie Sanders, and I wrote $100 check 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago at this point, almost 4 years ago actually. I wrote let's see, I gave money to Tulsi Gabbard too. I'm trying to remember, was it $20, $25, something like that? I wanted her to be the running mate for Bernie Sanders, so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and try to do what I can for her campaign, but I haven't donated to anybody since then.
I haven't either. I mean, it's like, who's worth my money? Like, none of them. And on top of that, even if they...
That's like personal cash you can't ever get back.
Yeah. I mean, I did too with Bernie, so it's like, that felt like wasted too when I could be doing other things.
Guys, understand that this is why centrist Democrat Dean Phillips came out a few weeks ago and issued a formal apology to Bernie Sanders. And said, look, when you were making all that noise, when you ran in 2016 and you ran in 2020 and you were saying, oh my God, the process is unfair, this isn't right, you guys have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, let me tell you a little bit about what's happening. He said, oh, I thought that was just all sour grapes. I thought you were just butthurt that you were down however many points, 5 points, 6 points, whatever it was, to Hillary Clinton at the time, and you felt like, maybe if I play the refs and act like it's rigged, maybe that's a way to sort of gin up support in a cheap maneuver. This is what Dean Phillips' perception of Bernie Sanders was. But now Dean Phillips is running, and he comes out and says, oh my God, they actually are suppressing democracy. They're actually saying, we don't want you to run, so we're going to try to stop you from running using any and all methods and means.
Yes, that's the whole point.
Ethical, unethical, legal, illegal, doesn't matter. Raw rank power plays. We'll do whatever in order to get your ass out of the conversation and off the ballot.
Exactly.
So look, the most important point is this, guys. I don't care if you like Cenk or dislike Cenk, if you like Marianne or dislike Marianne, if you like Dean Phillips or dislike Dean Phillips. None of that matters. What matters is, as a matter of principle, this is unacceptable. And it is the height of hypocrisy to look at somebody like Donald Trump and accurately say, this guy doesn't care about democracy. He tried to steal the 2020 election. He did a fake elector scheme, a fraudulent elector scheme. He was caught. This was a criminal operation. He's going down. I am shocked and disturbed by what Trump did because he's anti-democracy. And then you turn around and do a move like this? So what, when you subvert democracy, all of a sudden it's holy and pristine and immaculate and moral and just?
Yes, that's it. But
and by the way, if you're really not scared of the outcome, why on earth would you do this? Biden is leading by a lot in all of the polls. So why would you try to put your boot on the neck of the democratic process like this? Because they don't care. It is just a raw power play.
Mm-hmm.
And this, guys, you're now just seeing the most brazen example of it where it's undeniable. It's undeniable because Politico is reporting it. Mainstream outlets are reporting it. But Marianne's been dealing with this every step of the way. Marianne would have a date set to give a speech to young college Democrats. And she would get a phone call.
We all know this story. But yeah, I mean, it's no shit. Like, he's acting like he just figured this out. Like, the Democrats, like, he's angry about this because ultimately he's just a Democrat. He's not a progressive. He's just a Democrat. And he wants, for now at least, he hates Joe Biden. But August of next year, after the convention, he'll love Joe Biden. Him and Crystal Ball and Cenk Uygur and Kasparian and who else is in that space? All of them, whatever their names are, they'll all be biggest Biden bros all of a sudden. So yeah, for now they all hate Joe Biden, but as soon as the convention is over, they're all big Biden bros again.
Yeah, well, they may not be Biden bros per se, but they are certainly going to cheer. They're going to do what Fox News do with Republicans, whether they like the Republicans or not. They're going to they're going to do the Sean Hannity and swing the pom poms, and these are the Sean Hannity. These people are the Sean Hannitys of the online left.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, for now we hate Joe Biden and we're going to point out how he's not mentally all there, and we want to vote for Marianne Williamson, or even Kyle is disingenuously talking about how Cenk has a chance to be president. He knows better. He's not stupid. He knows what the Constitution says. It's clear. Cenk Uygur is just the blowhard idiot who thinks he can win a federal case, even though he should know as a lawyer that he can't win that case. So he's just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, Cenk is beating a dead horse.
There's no chance of him winning that nomination. Even if he was a natural born citizen, he still can't win, because all Democrats have to do is run ads about how much he loves horses. Just replay his old stuff from TYT, and he's dead. That's what happened when he ran for Congress. And in 2018, this replayed all his old TYT clips where he was sexist and racist and horrifyingly, and anti-trans and all that terrible things that he said over the years. And they used it against him, and he got crushed.
Yeah, I remember when the Justice Democrats was created, that Cenk Uygur was basically shunned and kicked out of the Justice Democrats, an organization he created. And I want to defend Cenk a little bit. He wrote that stupid blog when he was more right leaning years ago, and he was writing a blog about a lot of things that a lot of more college guys than not would write about, maybe a frustration of being perpetually single and everything. You're going to have anger management issues about it and everything. And so
that's what he was writing about.
That's what he was writing.
His old blogs. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm surrounded by these tits and ass in Miami and none of them will fuck me. And I'm like, did you look in the mirror, Cenk? I mean, I'm not trying to ugly shame him, but no wonder no girl in Miami's gonna touch him.
Yeah, so I mean, he was angry at the time, and I don't think, I mean, I don't know if that makes him a bad person. He was just frustrated, but they held that against him, and that's the part of the left that just irks me, where you'll say something in the past, and it will be held against you. I mean, I've had some positions in the past that I'm not proud of, and
Yeah,
just,
we all
I
had.
mean, they're not particularly right wing, but they may not jive with the where I am at politically today, where I have evolved, but at the same time, to sit there and cancel people out, that's, the right
Hmm.
wing don't have anything to worry about the left taking over when the gatekeepers of the left, not the entire left, but the gatekeepers, do this cancel culture bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like let's cancel somebody, and I don't have no interest in defending Jenks. Sometimes he deserves what he gets, with his loud mouth and his stupid opinions and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm glad I didn't write any blogs in college. I'm glad there were no video cameras or smartphones at the time, because you could embarrass me from some of the stuff I did if there were cameras. That's all I'm gonna say.
Same
Phone
here.
call says, "Oh, you're not giving that
Yeah.
speech to college Democrats. The venue's canceling on you. What? You can't go speak at this college. You can't go speak at that college. You're not allowed to get this voter data, which you have a right to, which you already paid the fee to get. We're taking that away from you too."
They stole money from her. I'm not sure you
They
heard
put
this.
roadblocks up every which way.
They stole money
They-
from Marianne. I think it was the North Carolina Democratic Party. They stole. She paid $2,500 for a list of voters in North Carolina. Oops, sorry. And they just never gave her the list. He just stole $2,500 from her, and and like, oh yeah, the list. Oh, what list? We don't not gonna give you anything. Good luck to you.
Hmm.
I'm not sure you heard that one, but it
I
was.
actually haven't heard that one, and I'm ashamed to say that, since I live
Oh,
just
okay.
outside of Raleigh, North
Yeah, I
Carolina.
mean, I think it was either the North Carolina or South Carolina Democratic parties, one or the other. It may have been South Carolina, but
Wait a minute, wait a minute. You're talking about, since this might be connected to them moving the primaries. Was it taking it away from New Hampshire and Iowa and
yeah,
putting it in South Carolina, where the
yeah.
Democratic Party is a little more conservative than they are in New Hampshire and Iowa.
Well, they moved the primaries away from New Hampshire because they want to make sure Joe Biden has the easiest path to the nomination, even though they pretty much renominated him, which they did that probably to screw North Carolina, because Bernie won North Carolina twice and they hate Bernie. So it's like, yeah, fuck you. Now you're going to go third or fourth, whatever. I mean, piss off. And the New Hampshire Democratic Party is very angry about this. And well, in our constitution, it says we have to be the first primary. And Biden's like, who cares? I mean, it's a state constitution. You're not going to tell me which state's going to go first or isn't. I run this party, or at least his officials, because Biden is not fully all there mentally. But
He certainly is. I don't see how he can be if he's reelected. I'm going to be totally shocked and surprised. I just don't see how he can be. I can see how he was elected in 2020. We had COVID. Donald
Mhm.
Trump sounded like a lunatic, and we wanted to get back to what's perceived as normal. I didn't buy it, but I understood why people bought into that.
Yeah,
I just
any president, if Hillary Clinton would have been president, she would have lost, because they would have blamed her for COVID. I mean, that's just like they blame Trump for COVID because he's the president. You got to take responsibility for everything that goes wrong, even if it's not your fault. And COVID wasn't Trump's fault, but
yeah.
but ultimately he took the downfall for it and lost the election. But yeah, I mean, any president would have lost after a pandemic. So yeah, so I don't. If the and Trump was nearly reelected even with the pandemic. If it wasn't for 50,000 votes in 3 states, in three swing states, he would have won reelection even with the pandemic. So it was really close.
It was, and yeah, and he would have been reelected had there'd been no COVID for
No,
their
he
entire.
definitely would have been reelected. Yeah, if COVID never happened. If
Yeah.
we never went through COVID, he would have crushed Joe Biden on his way to reelection. It could have been. I speculate it could have been a Reagan style landslide.
I think it would have been more like a George W. Bush 2004 comfortable victory,
Yeah,
but
maybe I'm over exaggerating, but yeah, that probably
yeah,
makes
the
a little bit
country's
more
too
sense.
divided. The
Yeah,
country's too divided to have that kind of and I was born in 1969, so I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I
yeah.
remember in the Reagan era. I mean, how conservative things were back then. I mean, incredibly more so than now. And I still think the country's too conservative, but you know,
Well, yeah, I agree with that too. But when Reagan was elected, it was Jimmy Carter administration which went through the crisis with the oil crisis
Mhm.
and with the kidnapping of the embassy in Iran. That's what it was,
Yes,
and that was Reagan was like, oh yeah, he was charismatic. He was a former actor. He was very well put together and dressed, and he had the sunglasses. He represented the 1980s perfectly. I was born in '86, but yeah, he represented the 1980s perfectly with the tough guy persona, the glasses, that his cat charisma. The country was totally behind Reagan, and in 1984, it was like Democrats don't run anybody. Don't I wouldn't even be like, oh yeah, we ran Walter Mondale, some boring white guy, against Reagan. It's like, oh yeah, he's definitely gonna lose. He lost 49 out of 50 states. It was nearly a sweep, a clean sweep by Reagan.
now Walter Mondale, when you compare him to Bill Clinton or Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and
Hmm.
Barack Obama, ideologically, I mean he's I mean he's extremely further left, was further left than
Yeah,
those guys. Yes,
yeah. I
that's
mean, yeah, he was left. He was. I probably could have voted for him if I were
I
around in
mean,
'84.
not as left as Bernie on paper, but
Yeah,
certainly as far significantly to Bill Clinton's left, and that's where things really started to go horrible for the
to the right.
Democratic Party because the Democratic Party did the Democratic Leadership Council, and when Bill and Hillary Clinton took over, they Reaganized the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, let's be more like Ronald Reagan, who won 2 terms and absolutely crushed in 1984. Yeah, let's be more like him. That was basically what Bill and Hillary Clinton did because George H.W. Bush won in '88, which he would have. He was Reagan's vice president. Anybody would have won. Even a cardboard cutout of George H.W. Bush would have won in '88. Then by '92, things like with the third party, with the not third party, Ross Perot ran in '92 and kind of took away votes from HW,
Exactly.
so which had led to Clinton's victory, which ultimately got NAFTA passed. Remember, it was George H.W. Bush who tried to get NAFTA passed and he failed. Bill
Mhm.
Clinton all of a sudden came, oh yeah, let's change one or two sentences here and there, and I'll pass NAFTA. Right? It's like, oh, Democrats are more comfortable voting for us. Oh yeah, you're a Democrat. It's okay now. We can vote for NAFTA, and Bill Clinton got NAFTA passed. I'd be like, damn, if I would, you should have reelected HW. That way, NAFTA would have had no chance of passing because all the
Yeah, right wing policies tend to take place under the Democratic administration.
administration.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You know, when I hear the Republicans and right wingers ought to love the Democrats on immigration because they claim that the Democrats are open borders parties. They deport more than Republicans do when the Republicans are in power. I mean, those cages down in Texas were not the Trump cage; it was the Obama cage.
Hmm.
You know,
And
it's
Trump took it to his logical conclusion, which was imprisoning more immigrants. He took it to his logical conclusion. And then they blame Trump for it. I'm like, no, they were built under the Obama Biden administration. Everything, all those prisons, all those camps for immigrants, they were all built in the Obama administration.
yeah,
And
but the
then when,
Democrats are nicer about their
yes,
anti-immigration. They're
they're
nice with
nicer. And then by the time Trump came into power, he took it to his logical conclusion. He's like, oh, hey, let's take all these illegals, as he would put it, and then throw them into these camps. That way, AOC will go there and cries fake tears at looking at nothing
every
and
time I
embarrass
see
herself.
every time I see her, I want to do this sarcastic clap for her acting abilities because
Yeah.
and she's another one that gets my goat at times too. I mean, I used to again. I first couple of years, I would say probably between her rejection of forced to vote and fucking over the rail workers,
That
that's
was
when
the
I
worst.
was like, I was getting less and less and
That
less
was the
impressed,
worst.
and I was just like, the rail workers. I'm like, oh fuck you, you
No,
know.
no, no. That union busting was probably the more I can put up with.
Mhm,
Oh well, the fake tears next to the border wall, which was fake. The I can put up with a lot of stuff, but union busting when you're supposed to be a democratic socialist or whatever you want to call yourself. No, at
yeah,
that point you know what she is, and what she is just a Democrat, not a democratic
yeah.
socialist, not a DSA member. I mean, nothing, just a Democrat. That's what she is now, and you have to accept that. She did
I mean,
exact. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well,
No, I'm just like, I'm just disappointed with her.
yeah, I mean, I'm angry. I mean, did union busting. It wasn't like she voted present. Well, I voted present. It's like, no, no, no. She voted again. She voted to union bust. She voted in favor of forcing the railroad union to accept that ridiculous, horrible contract, which only includes what, 1 day off. It was like one sick day a year. It was absurd.
Yeah, yeah, and and union busting. That's um, I know what it's like to work in a non-union shop. I know what it's like to work in a union shop, and for the past 5.5 years, I have been working in a non-union shop again because I was laid off 5.5 years ago from my previous job, which was union, and so I got a pension to look forward to in when I turn 59 and a half. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, so that's I got something to show for my unionized job.
Good. I mean, I never had a union job. I've always worked on and off and done different jobs. I've done a little bit of everything. So
Mhm.
maybe, and yeah, but still, I mean, there are a lot of positive with unions. Problem is, there are some negatives, like police unions. They're all powerful. They're all powerful. And it's impossible to fire these cops. Terrible cops who abuse people and assault people. You can't fire them because ultimately their unions are all powerful. And I'm not saying that all unions are like this, but the cop unions are definitely like that. They'll protect their members no matter what they do, what violence or what evil they cause. It's like, no, 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 no. I mean, he's a cop, he's a good guy, right? So there are some, like, union power is great, but it can be used negatively sometimes, like with police unions.
And unions are a little bit corruptive at
Yeah,
times.
corruption is definitely a problem.
My local union, the president, our president, the UFCW,
Hmm.
Brian Murphy at the time, he's a good guy, but some of the people under him not so good.
Yeah.
And I won't mention any names. But I got into an argument with one of them during the negotiation when he started to sound like a conspiratorial Tea Partier over Obamacare. He said this is a way to try to force us into a single payer system. And I got it. I People got mad at me. I just went off on him.
Yeah, I
So.
mean, yeah, Obamacare was never going to lead to single payer. The whole point of it was to continue the system as it is. And it's like, oh yeah, let's force you into the exchanges and buy insurance. Oh yeah, good luck with that. Insurance is now more expensive than ever been, and allegedly the whole point of the exchanges was to save money. I mean, that was the whole point. But as soon as those credits, remember, they used credits in the beginning of Obamacare. It was like they would give credits to people in order to make it cheaper. And once those credits went away, prices went up to the point where really the exchanges are a waste of time. I mean, it's like it's cheaper just to either get insurance to your job or to not have insurance, unfortunately. And millions of Americans still don't have insurance to this day. I thank God for the Medicaid expansion. That's how I got insurance because I couldn't afford insurance. I make under a certain amount of years, so I'm able to get Medicaid, and that's how I was able to do everything, have healthcare. But yeah, that's probably the only good thing I see from Obamacare. It's like, okay, great, I got something out of it, which was health insurance. But still, I mean, it was absurd. I mean, Obamacare is one of the worst things that could have happened. And with these exchanges. And another good thing was there's no you can't get excluded from insurance because of pre-existing conditions like they used to do. Like I have diabetes, so or type 2 diabetes, so I would have been excluded from most health insurances anyways. So
I think they're trying to do away with the pre-existing
yeah, I know.
conditions,
I
and
wouldn't be surprised if they did. They're trying to do
yeah,
away with that.
yeah, yeah. And here's the thing: am I still in favor of Medicare for all? Absolutely, but I don't think Medicare for all is it should be an ends to a means, but it needs to go further than that. And I look at two countries, one Cuba
Hmm.
and the other the United Kingdom. They both essentially have the same system, and that's what we need. National health service.
Yeah, so that's further left than even a single payer system because the doctors and the nurses and the hospitals are government controlled. Well, it's even further left than single payer. And I think the VA is basically controlled like that. The Veterans Administration, the doctors and the hospitals all owned by the government. Of course, it's severely underfunded. So,
Yeah, they did something. Let me tell you, my dad got fucked over from George W.
uh,
Bush over to VA. My dad's a veteran. In order to pay for the Iraq War, I mean, they decided they decided to means test the VA now.
mm-hmm, yeah.
And so my dad made too much money to qualify. I mean, and if that shouldn't make people angry, I don't know what would.
No, I mean that I talked to my guest 2 weeks ago, who's Joe Magaha, who's a host of a Spanish speaking podcast, and I was telling him about this. It was like, yeah, I mean, we tell these poor people to go to war and to sacrifice their lives and possibly body and limb for what? And the promise of when they get home, we would take care of them with the VA. What do? We cut the VA to the bone to the point where very few people in the military getting taken care of. We have millions of homeless vets. Nothing gets done. And we don't get, most Americans, unfortunately, don't care enough to actually protest and get these people into homes at the very least. It's not right. And I feel horrible that this country like goes and sends these people off to war. And then when they get home on that promise that we would take care of them, the taxpayers in the country, we do not, we cut it to the bone. It's like, oh, homeless veterans. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and thing about it is, it'd be nice if we can not have veterans by not getting us involved with these
Yeah,
wars.
100, yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
yeah, yeah, war and peace is a healthcare issue.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not suggesting that we should continue the wars, but yeah, my point is if we're going
no,
to have these wars, we got to take care of these veterans, you know? And we're not doing it. The government is like, "Oh yeah, I mean, we'll take care of some of you if you make too much money, then we won't take care of you and you can go fuck yourself. Good luck trying to get health insurance, somewhere else, but we won't take care of you because we don't, we think it's too much money and we need the money to pay for military contractors and we need the money to make more bombs and we need the money to for weapons so we can send future generations to war while we all sit on our ass in Washington and just pontificate and grandstand about how we care about the vets."
yeah, and that's all it is. It's grandstanding. It's a nice little talking point. Oh, he said he cares about the vets. Well, not one veteran should be homeless, and not one veteran should be deprived of medical coverage. I mean, yeah, but we're talking about a country that did a slaughter with the bonus march, 1932.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is so you know the soldiers that fought in World War I, they wanted the depression was making their lives horrible. They wanted their bonuses, and what did our U.S. government do? They went and mowed them down.
Yeah. It's like, "Oh yeah,
You
you
know,
want your bonuses? Here's a weapon, and we're gonna murder all you, and that way we save the money. Get like, thank you for your service in World War I." That was the attitude, and the United States government's never cared about the troops. Cowboy Kitty says Willie, so that's why I want to put that there. Hey,
hey, Cowboy
thanks for
Kitty, hey,
joining us, and I wanted to get to this, which was the let me make that bigger, maybe because I can't even see it, and I don't have glasses.
I had the same trouble with Twitter myself on on my channel.
Yeah, I mean it's so small that it's ridiculous. That this is the debate I was telling you about. It says John Idarola tweeted this out, or his show, the Damage Report, which I've never seen a single episode of. I don't know how it's still being watched, but anyways, the establishment wants them silenced, so we're giving him a megaphone. TYT is giving the microphone to all three Democratic presidential candidates, Marianne Williamson, Cenk Uygur, and Dean Phillips, to respond to the fourth GOP debate, to win Wednesday, December 6th at 10 p.m. 10 p.m.? That's so late on the East Coast, 10 p.m.? No one's going to watch that. if it should, they should have put it on primetime at 8 or something. Maybe more people would have watched it. But they're putting it at, I think they're putting it at 10 because they're embarrassed they're doing this. This is Cenk's idea. It has to be. It can't be anybody else's at TYT. I said TYT is hosting a meaningless presidential debate that no one's going to watch. I didn't know that GOP is having a debate tonight. Did you?
I didn't know, but I haven't really commented too much on the various debates that they have. I mean, I passingly, maybe a little bit. That's about it. I'm going to start getting more covering more as the primary on the Republican side obviously takes place. We might even do a Tuesday show. Jimmy and I might do a special Tuesday show commenting on the Super Tuesday. We talked about it, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this debate is ridiculous and a waste of time. And Cenk Uygur is using his own company to promote his presidential campaign, just like he did when he ran for Congress. I mean, there is some possible FEC violations there. Using your own,
yeah, you're right about that.
Using your own company to run for using their own company to help you run for president. Steve Forbes, I think it was charged with violations back in '96 when he used Forbes magazine to try to promote his campaign, or allegedly did.
They could have used Breaking Points to do this. Breaking Points would have.
Oh yeah.
Would have. Yeah, that would have been a little more feasible and less. And I'm sure they would have been receptive to it.
Yeah, because if somebody were to file a complaint against Cenk over this, the FEC would investigate him pretty closely, because this is like obvious coordination between his campaign and his own company.
Oh, I have an idea. Why don't they do this debate forum, but instead of having it hosted by the TYT, why don't they allow Jimmy Dore to host it and have Jimmy Dore ask the questions?
Yeah, Cenk would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm dropping out of the race. I endorse Marianne." That's what's gonna happen there. Yeah, there's no way that Cenk Uygur would ever be allow Jimmy Dore to ask him a question. He would run and hide.
Have a panel of Jimmy Dore, the combo couch, the gray zone, you name it. Just have them, hurling the questions out there. RBN, all of them, just have them,
yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
That would trigger the hell out of Cenk Uygur.
Yeah, he'll definitely drop out then and endorse Marianne as, "Oh yeah, you deal with them." Marianne Williamson was already embarrassed when she went on RBN that one time where Nick just handed her ass. I mean, and she actually rage quit the stream. She left and never came back, like in half an hour or something. It was Nick and CJ interviewing her, and she just ran off after half an hour. It's supposed to be like 2-hour interview or something. And she hasn't been back on since.
Yeah, I saw where she was on Jimmy Dore too, and she tried that. Well, don't mansplain me, and all that. I'm like, be quiet, Marianne.
Yeah, Jimmy just handed her ass too, and at least she stayed this time, unlike with when she ran away from Nick after 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Now I think that maybe early on what should have happened is actually, tell you the truth, I'm not anti Joe Rogan, but I'm not really pro Joe Rogan either. but I think having him host it would have probably been the fairest thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how interested Rogan would be in doing that, but yeah, justice is coming. Says Jane can violate me anytime. Has to be a troll account, but appreciate the comment. Oh, if you haven't already,
I
make
mean,
sure you like the stream too. Even though we're probably gonna wrap up in a few minutes, but yeah, I mean, please make sure you like the stream. Give me a like; it helps a lot. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why that's, but let's get rid of that. But yeah, I mean, let's just Cenk Uygur just has just it's just an ego thing with him, and he has no chance of winning, like I said. So yeah.
no, he doesn't. And it's just and he's not. I mean, he's one of his platform. He's campaigning on a public option. He's not even campaigning on Medicare for all.
Oh God, I
You know
saw
that?
that. I'm like, I saw on his website his at the time when he first started running, his website's an absolute joke. I mean, it looks better now. I just went there, but I should have screenshotted it. At the time, it was just awful. It was barely. It's a black screen. It said "Jank for president," and it said like a few policies here, and like in the corner, and the rest of it is empty. It was like just a bare bones website. It's like he decided to run till the very last second. I mean, there was no plan whatsoever, and it said public option. I'm like, wow, not even single pair. It's the same Jank Uger who loved the idea of single pair. I mean, just a few years ago. Now
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. Just
now this is his
yeah.
website today, which looks much better to his credit, but this is a joke. And his website when he first started running was just a joke. Oh, here's his policies: time off for parents, paid family leave, higher wages, $15 minimum wage, affordable health insurance. This is the one. It's still there. Public option: fight corruption and gerrymandering, and allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. So it's just 5 policies, which you see it right there. Affordable health insurance. It's not even Medicare for all.
Yeah, when I hear people go into vague precepts about how to do healthcare access and everything, it's like they're trying. It's like we're going to do everything we can except for the actual right thing to do, and that right thing to do is to, at a minimum, do Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Golden Monarch says Marianne Williamson got scared by CJ in Rome. Those guys are innocent. Yeah, I mean, they had every right to ask tough questions, and she couldn't handle it, so she rage quit the stream. In Nick and CJ in Rome, none of them's ever spoken to her since. She's been in hiding from them, which I mean, if I were her, I probably wouldn't even gone on. I think she didn't have a clue who they were. It's like, oh, a bunch of black commentators? Oh, great. I can look progressive by going on their show, and maybe they'll ask me some simple questions and I can look good and be progressive. Oh, these are real black commentators who actually know what they're talking about and embarrassing me. Let me get out of here. Let me run. I'm sorry. I have things to do.
yeah. So yes, he's a joke. I mean, it was funny when she said what she said 4 years ago about harnessing the power of love, and I will meet you in the
That was
battlefield, and love will
ridiculous.
win. I laughed.
Yeah, it
I
was
thought that was
absurd.
fun.
I'm like, you're running for president. You're not. She's like a self-help guru. Like, oh yeah, we're all gonna follow each other in the power of love, and I'm gonna continue the wars. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna power of love. All this other stuff. I love you all very much, and blah 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 blah. I hope you vote for me. Not very impressive. Not very impressive in 2016. Then in 2020, oh no, actually she ran in 20. Wait, I'm confused. She ran in 2020.
2020.
Okay, that's what it was. I said 2016. But yeah, she's running again. So, and she's embarrassing herself even worse this time. So it's like, what is she doing? Like she's sticking to friendly out shows like the Vanguard and Crystal and Kyle and the Young Turks and stuff like that. She's sticking to these very friendly outlets now after the embarrassment she had with Jimmy and RBN. So
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't know if I'll
yes.
ever interview a politician. Like, I have no desire for that. It's like, for what? Just for you to read me your talking points and not answer my questions? I mean, so it's kind of, to me, interviewing a politician or having on this show or any show I'm on is a waste of time. I would never, like, for what? So you read me your talking points and ignore my questions? And even if I follow up, you're still going to read me your talking points and not answer my question. So I already know that that's going to happen. For what? Just to have prestige? Oh, hey, I had on this politician and that politician. Aren't I a real host? Right? I'm a real political commentator. I have politicians on. No, I don't. Like, there's no point in that. It's like I'm just wasting my time and my audience's time. I don't
Yeah,
know what you think,
that's
whether you would interview a politician or not, but
yeah. I've interviewed what's his name? Gosh, the guy that ran for the Green Party.
uh,
Good Lord, I
Howie
can't.
Hawkins.
Not Howie Hawkins for the U.S. Senate.
Oh, I don't know who you could be
Oh
referring to.
gosh, oh gosh, in North Carolina. Gosh, I cannot think of his name right now, and he'll hate me if he's watching. Um, we know the same people, by the way.
Okay, well,
Anyway, he, yeah, it was a very interesting interview and all that. He ended up with 29,000 votes. Do you know what happened in North Carolina with his campaign?
no, I don't know the story. You can tell me.
The Green Party got on the ballot in North Carolina,
Hmm.
and then they were taken off the ballot temporarily,
Oh wow.
and they had to go and do some lawsuits and legal threats and everything to get right back on the ballot.
Oh wow. I mean, not surprising. I mean, the North Carolina. I'm sure that the Democrats or whoever did it, whether it was Democrats, I'm sure it was. I assume it was them. Oh yeah, let's get them off the ballot so more people will vote for us instead of the Green Party candidate. So yeah, I mean,
Matthew Ho. Matthew Ho.
oh, that's yeah. I know him. Yeah, I haven't talked to him, but I've heard his name. Yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah.
w-
For some reason, I would have told you 5 minutes ago his
yeah,
name, and I was just like,
that happens
why?
to all of us. We get that brain fart where it's like, I know who this person is, but I forgot him. And, and that happens to me too. I forget people's name that I should know, or I forget people who definitely should know, but it's like, what's his name? The dude who did this. So yeah, it happens to all of us. Don't worry about it. Um, yeah, I'm guessing that I should be wrapping up now. So it's been an hour and a half. So yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
you
I
if you want to
enjoy
talk
being
about your shows, and promote yourself before I wrap up, go ahead. I'll let you do that now.
here. Yeah, I'll do that quickly because
Yeah.
I need to grab some dinner before work
Okay. Yeah.
tonight.
So
So
you gotta go to
yeah,
work. So.
yeah,
Uh
unfortunately,
huh.
yeah. Yeah, Bragglands, and that's youtube.com/Bragland show on YouTube. Please give a sub to the channel. We're trying to build that channel right now, Jimmy Sutherland and myself. And we have our show every Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And so we run every 2 hours a day on the show, and looks like we're going to have Jamar Jabari this coming Friday on the show as our
Okay.
guest. Yeah, and also help my channel out, the Willy Bragg Show. Give my channel a sub too. That's youtube.com/Willy Bragg TV, and support all independent media.
Yeah,
And
that's the most
I'm
important
glad
thing.
I'm glad we have this. I'm glad we have the smaller media out there available because we're the truth tellers.
Yeah. And I appreciate you coming on the show. And since you had me on a few months ago, I figured, yeah, let's do Willie too on my show. And that's the reason why we're doing it today instead of Friday, because your show is on Friday. So we couldn't really do it Friday.
Yes,
So yeah, I want to thank you very much for coming on. I hope you liked the conversation. I definitely did. And I learned some stuff.
you did.
And it's great. And I hope we'll see you guys. I'm probably going to do a show on Fridays. I'm not sure what's going to be about yet, but it'll be fun. I probably have some guests again, and I have to confirm before I say anything. And I'm going to see you guys on Friday, and I want to thank once again Willie for coming on. And I'll see you guys next on Friday. Have a nice night, and I hope to see you Friday.